The sun rose over Willow Creek Vineyard, casting a golden glow across Napa Valley's rolling hills, where rows of grapevines stood like sentinels of a storied legacy. For 3 generations, my family had tended these vines, transforming a modest plot into a name synonymous with excellence in winemaking. Our Cabernet Sauvignon was a legend, our Merlot a collector's dream, each bottle a testament to decades of devotion. I'm Elena Navarro, 38, a winemaker who'd poured my heart into this land. My grandfather planted the first vines in the 1950s, his hands calloused from years of labor. My father refined our blends, earning us a place among Napa's elite. I followed in their footsteps, earning a master's in enology from UC Davis, determined to carry the Navarro name forward. Our reserve wines had a 2-year wait list, and our limited edition bottles fetched thousands at auction, their flavors a symphony of tradition and care. But 5 years ago, everything changed when my father remarried, bringing Cynthia Holt and her son, Preston, into our family. Preston, with his Stanford MBA and slick confidence, saw our vineyard as a gold mine to be strip-mined, not a craft to be cherished. From the day he arrived, he mocked our artisanal methods, our hand pruning of vines, our obsessive soil testing, our small batch fermentations in oak barrels. "Elena, you're stuck in a bygone era," he'd say. His eyes glued to his tablet, scrolling through stock prices while I tested the acidity of a new vintage. "This boutique nonsense is bleeding us dry. We need to scale up, automate harvests, and flood supermarkets with affordable blends." He didn't understand that our reputation was built on quality, not volume. Our clients, renowned chefs, wine critics, and collectors, paid premium prices because they trusted the Navarro name, knowing each bottle was the result of meticulous care from vine to cellar. Cynthia, always teetering on designer heels that sank into our vineyard's rich soil, fueled his ambitions, whispering about untapped profits and global markets. My father, once a steward of our traditions, was swayed by Preston's corporate jargon and promises of wealth. I tried to reason with him, my voice steady but urgent. "Mass-producing cheap wine will destroy everything we've built," I said. "Our buyers aren't looking for bulk. They're investing in a legacy of craftsmanship." Preston smirked, leaning back in his chair. "You're playing farmer, Elena, while I'm building an empire." Dad, dazzled by Preston's charts and projections, began to nod along, his trust in me fading under the weight of buzzwords like efficiency and market share. What they didn't know was that 6 years ago, after I graduated, my grandfather had pulled me aside in the vineyard's old tasting room. He'd seen too many family wineries fall to corporate greed, their legacies diluted by mass production. With a lawyer's help, he'd quietly established Navarro Vines LLC in my name. Every prize grapevine, every rare cultivar, every lucrative contract with top restaurants and collectors was registered under this entity. The vineyard itself, Willow Creek, only held a license to use these assets, contingent on maintaining our artisanal standards. "Protect the vines, Elena," Grandpa had said, his voice rough with age, but firm with conviction. "They're the soul of this place. Don't let anyone turn them into a commodity." He passed away a year later, but his foresight became my shield. The tension reached its breaking point at last month's Napa Valley Wine Gala, where our flagship Merlot won Best in Show, its value soaring by $1 million overnight. The room buzzed with applause as I accepted the award. But Preston saw only dollar signs, not the decades of care behind that bottle. The next morning, he called a family meeting in our tasting room, his polished loafers absurdly out of place among the weathered oak barrels and rustic stone walls. "Willow Creek needs to step into the modern age," he declared, unveiling a plan to triple production. His vision was stark: plant generic vines, automate harvests, and churn out budget wines for big box stores. Dad's agreed to hand me controlling interest, he said, shooting me a smug grin. We need a leader with vision, not someone fussing over grape leaves and dirt. Cynthia beamed, her diamond earrings glinting, as Dad signed the papers, my heart sinking as 20 years of my life's work was handed to someone who saw our vines as mere numbers on a spreadsheet. "Don't worry, Elena," Preston said, his tone dripping with condescension. "We'll still need a winemaker. Just learn to work faster and stop obsessing over every berry." I stood, my hands steady despite the storm inside me. "I need to check the fermentation tanks," I said quietly. Walking out, Preston waved me off, already on his phone. "Just have the contracts ready when I take over next week. We've got buyers lined up for those overpriced reserve vines." I stepped into the vineyard, the scent of earth and grapes grounding me as I reached our oldest Cabernet vines, their gnarled roots a testament to my family's legacy. Under their shade, I made a call I'd prayed I'd never need. "Dr. Lopez, it's Elena Navarro," I said to my mentor. A viticulture expert who'd advised Grandpa on the LLC. "It's time to activate our contingency plan." That night, under cover of darkness, my team, trusted workers who tended these vines with me for years, relocated our prize vines to a secure facility I'd prepared months earlier. Every Merlot, Cabernet, and Chardonnay cultivar, every rare clone we'd nurtured, was carefully moved. By dawn, the vineyard's most valuable rows stood empty. Preston arrived the next morning in his sleek Tesla, ready to claim his empire. He was on his phone, pitching his modernization to investors, oblivious to the barren patches where our prize vines had been. I sat in my lab, sipping coffee and reviewing soil data, when he burst through the door, his face flushed with rage. "Elena, where are the vines? Where's the Merlot stock?" I slid a folder across my desk, calm as the morning mist. "They're safe. Navarro Vines LLC relocated them to a new facility last night." His eyes widened. "Navarro what?" I opened the folder, revealing the truth. 6 years ago, Grandpa created a company to protect our legacy. Every valuable vine, every rare cultivar, every $1 million contract is owned by my LLC. The vineyard only had a license to use them, provided it upheld our standards. Preston snatched the papers, his hands trembling as he scanned the documents. Cultivar patents, genetic registries, contracts with Michelin-starred restaurants, all in my name. "This is absurd," he shouted. "The vineyard owns the grapes." I shook my head. Willow Creek owns some basic rootstock. The prize vines, the ones that won Best in Show, the ones with exclusive contracts, they belong to Navarro Vines LLC. Check the registries. His face drained of color as he flipped through page after page, the reality sinking in. "Dad," he yelled, fumbling for his phone. "We've got a problem." Dad arrived with Cynthia, both stunned as I laid out the paperwork in the lab, surrounded by barrels of our latest vintage. "The license expired the moment you signed over control to someone planning to abandon our standards," I said gently to Dad. "You were so caught up in Preston's big ideas. You forgot what makes Navarro wine special." Cynthia sputtered, "You sneaky little—" But Preston cut her off, his business brain finally grasping the situation. "How much to buy your LLC?" he demanded, his voice tight. I smiled. "It's not for sale, but I'll lease the vines back to the vineyard on my terms." My conditions were ironclad. I'd control the winemaking program, ensuring no mass production, no selling off rare cultivars, and a steadfast commitment to the artisanal standards that defined Navarro. All decisions about the vines, pruning, harvesting, blending, would go through me. Preston could handle logistics, but only under my oversight. If you refuse, I added, I take my vines, my contracts, and my reputation elsewhere. Your buyers aren't paying for Willow Creek's dirt. They're paying for our legacy. Dad sank into a chair, his face etched with regret. Elena, why didn't you tell me? He asked, his voice heavy. Would you have listened, Dad? You were blinded by Preston's promises of profit. The room fell silent, the truth hanging like the aroma of aging wine. Preston hired a team of lawyers to challenge me, but Grandpa's foresight and my meticulous records were bulletproof. Every patent, every contract, every vine was legally mine, backed by years of documentation. Rival wineries, sensing Willow Creek's weakness, began circling, offering to buy my LLC outright, but I refused. This was about more than money. It was about honoring the land, the vines, the dreams of my family. In the end, Preston and Dad had no choice. They signed my lease agreement, and the vines returned to Willow Creek, but under my control. I took charge of the winemaking program, while Preston was relegated to managing irrigation systems and delivery schedules. His grand empire reduced to paperwork under my watchful eye. 5 months later, at the National Wine Awards, our Chardonnay took top honors, and our Pinot Noir earned a rare perfect score from a panel of critics. The gala was a triumph, with sommeliers, collectors, and chefs toasting Navarro's unwavering commitment to craft. Preston stood awkwardly at the edge of the crowd, his tailored suit out of place among the winemakers in work boots and jeans. Later, as I tested a new vintage in the cellar, the air rich with the scent of oak and fermenting grapes, he approached, his usual swagger dimmed. You planned this all along, didn't you? He asked, watching me swirl a glass of ruby red wine. I wasn't planning anything, I replied, checking the wine's clarity under the light. I was protecting what matters. These vines aren't just assets on your spreadsheet. They're our history, our heart, our soul. Last month, Dad visited my lab, his eyes lingering on my degrees and the shelves of awards lining the walls, tributes to the vintages I'd crafted, the vines I'd saved. Your grandfather would be proud, he said softly, his voice thick with emotion. He always knew you were the one who understood what this place is about. The vineyard thrives, but not as Preston envisioned. He's learning, slowly, that some things can't be reduced to profit margins. He's even started helping in the fields, though he still avoids the muddy rows, his loafers pristine. I've caught him watching the vines with a hint of respect, as if he's beginning to see what I've always known, that every grape, every bottle carries a story. A young winemaker intern, shadowing me during harvest, asked why I didn't take my vines and start fresh elsewhere. I led her to our oldest Merlot vine, its buds heavy with the promise of another award-winning vintage. This land is more than dirt, I told her, brushing my fingers against the vine's rough bark. It's generations of passion, sweat, and dreams. My grandfather planted these roots, my father nurtured them, and I fought to keep them alive. Sometimes, protecting a legacy means holding your ground, even if it takes outsmarting a Stanford MBA. She nodded, her eyes bright with understanding, and I knew she'd carry that lesson forward. Willow Creek Vineyard remains a family operation, but with a new clarity about who holds its heart. A sign at the gate now reads, Willow Creek Vineyard in proud partnership with Navarro Vines LLC. It's a quiet declaration of the truth. The vines, the soul of this place, are mine. Last week, as I walked the rows at dusk, the vines glowing under the setting sun, I thought of Grandpa. He trusted me to protect what mattered, to ensure our legacy endured. The best revenge isn't about winning. It's about preserving what's sacred. proving that a winemaker in work boots, with dirt under her nails and love in her heart, can outshine a suit any day. Somewhere I know Grandpa is smiling, his legacy safe in the hands of the granddaughter who never forgot what made Willow Creek extraordinary.